You think you can just walk away from me? I felt his hand before I saw his face. Oscar's fingers locked around my wrist at the edge of the marble staircase, right under chandelier, right where everyone could see. The music didn't stop. No one gasped. No one stepped in. Oscar, let go. You're hurting me. Keep walking, he whispered, smiling like we were still together, like this was normal. I tried to pull back. His grip tightened. 3 months. 3 months of changing buses. 3 months of new phone numbers. 3 months of sleeping with a chair pushed against my door. And he still found me at Tasha's engagement party, a place he was never supposed to know about. We need to talk, he said softly. No. I yanked my arm. His nails dug into my skin. The people nearby glanced, then looked away. A woman in a silver dress lifted her champagne. A man laughed at a joke that wasn't funny. Someone recorded a selfie video 2 feet from me. No one wanted trouble. Oscar slid his hand from my wrist to my forearm and started pulling me toward the balcony. My heels scraped against marble. Stop, Oscar. Then he grabbed my hair. Pain exploded across my scalp. I screamed. Look at me, he hissed, twisting his fist tighter. You embarrass me. My hands clawed at his wrist. My vision blurred. 50 people. 50 witnesses. And not one moved. But someone was watching. Across the room, leaning against the bar, stood a man I didn't recognize. Korean, early 30s, white shirt, sleeves rolled neatly to his forearms. He wasn't filming, wasn't whispering, wasn't shocked. He was observing, like he was calculating numbers only he could see. Oscar jerked my head back again. Thought you could disappear? Through tears, I saw the man set his untouched glass down. Then he started walking toward us. No rush, no panic, just quiet footsteps that didn't belong in chaos. Oscar noticed too late. Who the hell? The man stopped 3 feet away. Up close, he was taller than I thought. His expression didn't change. He didn't look at me. He looked only at Oscar. Let her go. Not loud, not angry. Final. Oscar laughed nervously. Mind your business. She's my girl. The man tilted his head slightly. She is not yours. Oscar's hand loosened, just a fraction. Then the stranger's hand moved to his jacket. He unbuttoned it once. The room changed. I didn't know why, but Oscar did. Color drained from his face. Well, wait. The man spoke. Beck Jinwoo. Not an introduction. A statement. Oscar released my hair. I stumbled forward, catching the table edge. You just touched someone under my protection. My stomach dropped. I had never seen him before. Yet he claimed me like fact. Oscar stepped back. I didn't know. Jinwoo didn't blink. Silence spread across the party, like spilled ink. A phone stopped recording. Someone lowered a glass mid-sip. I'm leaving, Oscar said quickly. We're done. He backed away, then turned and walked fast toward the elevator. No one stopped him. Jinwoo watched until the doors closed. Then his eyes shifted to me. Go home, Shanice. He knew my name. The ride home. Tasha grabbed my arm the second we were alone. Who was that? I don't know. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. My scalp still burned. He knew your name, she whispered. That's not random. Neither was the way 50 people pretended he was royalty. We reached her car. She locked the doors immediately. My cousin works private security, she said quietly. I've heard that name before. Beck Jinwoo, you don't argue with people like him. What kind of people? She swallowed. The kind that don't make threats. The call. I didn't sleep. At 9:03 a.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Hello? Shanice. My stomach tightened. How do you have this number? I've had it for a while. Cold silence. Oscar won't contact you again. What did you do to him? Nothing yet. A pause. Then, he tried to sell you. My heart stopped. What? Debt collateral. 2 weeks ago. The room tilted. No, he wouldn't. I bought the contract. I couldn't breathe. You're not theirs anymore, Jinwoo said calmly. You're under my protection. I'm not property. No, he agreed, but in their world, You were about to be. Silence. There's a car outside. You can ignore it, but others won't. The call ended. The car. I looked out the window. Black sedan. The same one I'd seen for weeks near my job. Not stalking. Guarding. I grabbed my bag. This time I wasn't running away. I was choosing the only door that wasn't locked. The driver opened the back seat without speaking. Inside smelled clean. Quiet. Expensive. We drove. City faded. Gates got taller. Money got quieter. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse. No photos. No warmth. A safe place, not a home. On the bed sat a folded note. You're safe here. Sleep. I didn't know why that scared me more than Oscar. Because safety from a man like Jin-woo wasn't kindness. It was decision. And men like him didn't make temporary ones. I woke up to silence. Not normal silence. Expensive silence. The kind that exists 30 floors above the city, where sound doesn't climb high enough to matter. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then I saw the ceiling. White. Perfect. Unfamiliar. And memory came back all at once. The party. Oscar's hand in my hair. The man who didn't raise his voice. Beck Jin-woo. I sat up slowly. No locks on the bedroom door. No bars on the windows. But the realization settled heavy in my chest. I wasn't trapped. I was contained. Someone had been paying attention. The closet was full. Not random clothes. My clothes. Or things I would have chosen. Neutral sweaters. Soft jeans. Plain shoes. Nothing flashy. Nothing uncomfortable. He hadn't guessed. He had observed. For how long? I checked my phone. No missed calls. No messages. No Oscar. 3 months of fear. Gone overnight. But the relief didn't come. Because safety you don't control feels different than danger you understand. He was already there. The smell reached me before I saw him. Food. Warm. Fresh. Real. I followed it into the open living space. Jin-woo sat at the dining table opening containers like this was routine. He looked up once. Not surprised. Not curious. Just acknowledging I existed. Sit. Not an invitation. A decision. I sat. He pushed a bowl toward me. Eat first. Then talk. Bibimbap. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until the first bite hurt. We ate in silence. No small talk. No comfort questions. He waited until I finished. Then finally, you'll stay here for now. For how long? As long as necessary. I tightened my grip on the chopsticks. You can't just keep me here. His gaze stayed steady. I'm not keeping you. You can leave. Relief started. Then he finished. They will take you within 48 hours. My stomach dropped. The men who bought your contract don't care that I paid it. They care your ex embarrassed them. I didn't speak, because I understood what he wasn't saying. They would take payment in a different way. Me, the first crack in his calm. What did you do to Oscar? I asked quietly. Jin-woo leaned back slightly. He's alive. That wasn't an answer. That's more mercy than he earned. Something cold lived under his voice. Not anger. Judgment. Permanent judgment. The scar. 3 days passed. He came and went like a shadow that owned the building. Sometimes he worked across the room for hours. Sometimes he disappeared all night. He never explained. I never asked. Until the 4th night. I couldn't sleep. I stepped into the living area at 2 a.m. He stood by the window, overlooking the city. Lights reflected in the glass. And in his eyes, he noticed me without turning. Can't sleep? It wasn't a question. No. Silence again. Then his gaze lowered to my shoulder. The scar. Thin. Jagged. Old, but not old enough. I'd forgotten the wide collar exposed it. His jaw tightened. Barely. That won't happen again. Not comfort. Not sympathy. A fact. You don't know that. I whispered. He looked directly at me for the first time that night. Yes, he said quietly. I do. And somehow I believe him more than any promise I'd ever heard. That was the moment something shifted. Oscar protected to control. Jin-woo protected to eliminate possibility. The call, he didn't want me to hear. I woke to his voice. Sharp, lower than before. They don't renegotiate. Silence. Then, she is not available. Not to anyone. I stepped into the room. He noticed me but didn't stop. 2 days. I'll meet you alone. He hung up. For the first time, hesitation. Who was that? He considered not answering. The lenders. My throat tightened. They still want me? They want proof you're no longer collateral or double payment. How much is double? More than matters to you. I stepped closer. I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything, he said calmly. This was my choice. How will you convince them? A pause. Then, I'll make them understand the cost of touching you. Not a threat, a calculation. And that scared me more than violence. Curiosity is dangerous. He left the next evening. Told me to stay. So I followed him. I told myself I needed answers. Really, I needed to see what kind of man people feared more than criminals. The warehouse smelled like oil and rain. Through a broken window, I saw them. 2 men in bad suits. One behind him. And Jin-woo standing perfectly still. They argued. The men laughed. Then Jin-woo unbuttoned his jacket. Everything changed instantly. No weapon drawn. No raised voice. Yet the men stepped back. Hands lifted slightly. Submission. He spoke once. Short. Final. They agreed. I ran back before he saw me. Or so I thought. The first time he was angry. He entered the penthouse. Looked at my shoes by the door. Dust on them. Silence stretched long. You followed me. Not a question. I swallowed. I needed to know. His voice stayed controlled, but tighter than before. Do you know what they would have done if they saw you? I didn't answer. They wouldn't negotiate, he said. They would take you to prove a point, and I would have to start a war to get you back. The words landed heavy. I'm not a prisoner, I said weakly. No, he replied softly. You're someone I'm trying to keep alive. That was the closest he came to emotion. I can't protect you if you don't let me. I nodded, and for the first time, I wanted him to. The truth about Mercy. 5 quiet days passed. Then he came home different. Not calm. Resolved. Oscar contacted them. Ice filled my chest. He told them, I'm keeping you here against your will. Offered to clear his interest if they take you anyway. I sat down slowly. He looked at me, and I saw something new. Regret. I gave him a chance to disappear. His voice lowered. He chose not to. What are you going to do? Silence. Then, finish it. My heartbeat roared. You're going to kill him. He studied my face. Would that bother you? I opened my mouth, closed it, and realized the truth. No. He nodded once. Not approval. Understanding. Some people don't deserve second chances. He left that night, and I understood protection has a price, and someone was about to pay it. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. The penthouse felt larger when he wasn't in it. Every sound stretched longer. Every shadow looked deeper. I sat on the couch facing the door, waiting, because I knew something had ended tonight. I just didn't know what version of the world would exist when morning came. Morning. The door opened at 6:12 a.m. Jin-woo walked in like he'd returned from a meeting, not a decision that could erase a person. His clothes were clean. His hands were clean. His expression unchanged. My chest tightened. It's done, he said simply. I stood slowly. Is he dead? No. The answer surprised me. He's in a hospital. When he leaves, he goes to prison. I frowned. Prison? Fraud. Assault. Witness tampering. Financial coercion. A brief pause. I made sure the charges stayed. I stared at him. You didn't kill him. Jin-woo removed his watch, setting it precisely on the table. Dead men become martyrs to people like him. Then he looked at me. Living men learn fear. I understood. Oscar wouldn't disappear. He would live knowing he lost. And men like Oscar feared humiliation more than death. Freedom. He walked past me toward his room, then stopped. You're free now. I didn't answer. Oscar can't reach you. The debt is closed. You can leave if you want. Silence filled the room. For months my entire life had been running. New locks, new streets, new numbers. Freedom meant leaving. So why did the idea feel empty? What if I don't want to leave? He turned. For the first time, his expression softened, just slightly, then don't. That was all. No persuasion. No expectation. And that made the choice heavier than any demand. Days that felt normal. Time changed after that. Not suddenly. Gradually. I started sleeping through the night. We ate dinner sometimes. Always quiet, never awkward. He worked constantly but never ignored me. I realized something strange. Jinwoo never asked questions about my past. He already knew it, and he never offered comfort. He offered stability, which somehow mattered more. The first honest conversation. 3 weeks later, he spoke while putting on his watch. There's a gathering tonight. I looked up from the book I wasn't reading. What kind? Private. My stomach tightened. I don't think I should. I want you there. I froze. Why? His eyes held mine steadily. Because people need to know where you stand. My heartbeat stumbled. Where do I stand? With me? Not romantic. Not possessive. Definitive. The same room. It was the same penthouse building. The same marble staircase. The same chandelier. My steps slowed. He noticed, and without looking directly at me, his hand rested lightly against my lower back. Grounding, not controlling. We walked inside. The room went quiet again, but not the fearful silence from before. This one held respect. Acknowledgment. People nodded to him. Some greeted me by name. I'd never seen them, yet they knew me. I realized then my life had changed the moment he spoke at the party. I just hadn't caught up yet. The claim. We stopped in the center of the room. The exact place Oscar had dragged me down. Jinwoo faced the crowd. This is Shanice. Every voice died. She is not under my protection. My breath caught. A pause. She is with me. The meaning moved through the room instantly. Subtle reactions. A lowered gaze. A respectful nod. A careful silence. One man raised his glass slightly. Congratulations. Jinwoo didn't respond. His hand rested briefly on my shoulder. Steady. Certain. No performance. Just truth. And something in my chest finally loosened. I wasn't hiding anymore. I wasn't being guarded anymore. I was being acknowledged. The insult, a quiet voice from behind. Interesting choice, considering her past. The air sharpened. I felt Jinwoo's hand shift slightly toward his jacket. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. The man paled instantly. I apologize. He left the party. No confrontation. No threat spoken. Power didn't need volume. The realization. I looked up at Jinwoo. You didn't have to do that. Yes, he said calmly. I did. Why? His answer came without hesitation. Because people repeat disrespect, they survive. And suddenly I understood everything about the world he lived in. It wasn't violence. It was certainty. Choice. Later, on the balcony, city lights below us. You changed my life, I said quietly. No, he replied. I removed danger. I shook my head. You stayed. He looked at me then. For the first time in months, I admitted I don't feel like I'm escaping something. Silence. Then, good. No grand confession. No romance. But the calm in his voice felt stronger than promises. And I realized something unexpected. I didn't stay because I was afraid of the world. I stayed because, beside him, I wasn't afraid of it anymore. But peace never lasts long around power. And just when life started feeling stable, my past found one more way back. Peace lasted 12 days. Exactly 12. Long enough for routine to feel believable. Not long enough to be permanent. I learned Jinwoo's schedule without asking. Morning, gone before sunrise. Afternoon, messages, quiet phone calls. Work that sounded harmless but never was. Night, either home in silence or not home at all. But every night he returned, the apartment felt anchored again, until the doorbell rang. The one person who shouldn't be here. One answered. He never looked surprised by anything. This time he paused. Then he stepped aside. Tasha, I breathed. She ran to me and hugged me tight enough to hurt. I've been trying to call you for weeks. You just disappeared. My chest tightened. I told you I was visiting family. Don't lie to me, she whispered. Men came to my job asking about you. The room went still. Behind us, Jin-woo stood near the window, silent, watching, not interrupting, not welcoming, assessing. Tasha noticed him only after she pulled back, her voice lowered. That's him, isn't it? I nodded. She straightened nervously. I'm not here to cause problems. You already did, Jin-woo said calmly. Not rude, not hostile, just factual. Tasha swallowed. They knew details. My address, my shifts. They weren't police. The air shifted colder. The message. Jin-woo stepped forward slightly. What did they ask? If you were being forced to stay here, she answered quietly. They said you were in danger. I felt sick. Oscar was still reaching, even from a hospital bed or prison transport, or wherever he was now. Jin-woo's eyes hardened a fraction. They're trying to locate you, he said to me, using someone you trust. Tasha panicked. I didn't tell them anything. I swear. I know, he replied. And somehow that was worse, because it meant they didn't need her cooperation. They were tracking reactions, patterns, emotion. The trap becomes clear. Jin-woo took out his phone, typed once, then put away. We're leaving. Leaving? I asked. Tonight. No urgency in his tone. But Wong was already moving. Tasha looked terrified. What's happening? Jin-woo finally looked directly at her. You were followed. Her face drained. They know she still cares about you, he continued calmly. So they used you to confirm she's alive. My stomach dropped. They never lost me. I whispered. No, he said softly. They waited. The drive. The car ride was longer this time. No city lights. No high towers. Roads narrowed into dark stretches between industrial lots. Tasha sat rigid beside me. I'm sorry, she whispered. It's not your fault. Jin-woo's voice came from the front seat. Fault doesn't matter. Timing does. The car finally stopped outside a low concrete building. No windows. No signs. Safe houses didn't advertise safety. Truth finally spoken. Inside, the space was plain, functional, temporary. I turned to him. You said it was over. It was, he answered. For Oscar. My chest tightened. Then who? A long silence. Then the truth. He owed multiple people. I paid the visible debt. My heart sank. An invisible one. Jin-woo looked directly at me. The one who financed him never intended to collect money. Cold realization spread through me. They wanted leverage. Yes. Over you? His gaze didn't move. Yes. I was never the target. The world rearranged itself in my head. I wasn't chosen because of Oscar. Oscar was chosen because of me, or rather, because of who protected me. You knew this. I whispered. I suspected, he corrected calmly. But I needed them to show themselves. And Tasha accelerated it. Guilt crushed my chest. But Jin-woo shook his head slightly. They were going to move soon regardless. The question I was afraid to ask. Why me? I finally said. He didn't answer immediately. Because for the first time since I met him, the answer mattered. Because hurting me directly is difficult, he said quietly. But breaking something I choose to keep is easier. My throat tightened. I'm a weakness. No. His voice lowered. You are a message. The decision. He turned to Juan. They'll move within 48 hours. Juan nodded once. And you? I asked. Jin-woo checked his watch. I ended before then. Fear crept in. Not like last time. No. Not anger. Not revenge. Finality. After tonight, he said calmly, no one will use your name again. Understanding him. I stepped closer. You don't have to do this alone. His gaze softened slightly. Yes, he said, I do. Because this wasn't protection anymore. This was war etiquette. And I finally understood the difference. Oscar hurt me because he felt small. These people wanted me because Jin-woo was powerful. And power attracts enemies the way weakness attracts predators. He turned to leave. I caught his sleeve. Come back. A pause. Then the quietest promise he'd ever given. I always do. But this time, I wasn't sure he could keep it. I didn't sleep, not because I was afraid, because I understood. The building was silent. Not safe silence, not expensive silence like the penthouse. This was waiting silence. The kind before something ends. Jin-woo had already left. No goodbye, no instructions, just absence. And somehow that was worse than danger. Waiting for morning. Tasha slept on the couch, exhaustion winning over fear. Juan stood near the entrance like a statue carved for one purpose, to be there if something arrived. I sat at the metal table, watching the door. Time stretched. 3:12 a.m., 4:47 a.m., 5:26 a.m. Every minute I realized something heavier. Jin-woo never promised he would win. He only promised he would finish it. Sunrise. The door opened at 7:02. Not rushed, not damaged, normal. Jin-woo stepped inside. Same steady walk, same calm eyes. But something had changed, not visible, just settled. One relaxed first. So did the air. I stood slowly. Is it over? Yes. One word. No explanation. But this time I needed one. Who were they? He removed his coat before answering. Investors, he said quietly. They finance criminal networks across cities. They don't collect debts. They collect influence. My chest tightened. And me? You were proof I could be reached. Silence filled the room. Are they gone? I asked. Yes. Not arrested. Not scared. Gone. Permanent. I didn't ask how. And he didn't offer. Because some endings exist outside language. Aftermath. Tasha left that afternoon under escort. One drove her personally. 3 route changes. 2 vehicle swaps. Precautions I didn't even know existed. By evening, the building felt empty again, but lighter. I watched Jin-woo, standing near the window. You could have walked away from this, I said softly. No, you barely knew me. He turned, and for the first time since the party, he answered honestly. I knew enough. The truth. I waited. He rarely explained himself. Now he chose to. The first time I saw you, he said, you were arguing with a cashier. I blinked. What? You were short $5. You told her to cancel the order instead of asking the man behind you for help. I remember that day. I had been embarrassed, stubborn, normal. I paid after you left, he continued calmly. Confusion spread across me. You noticed me because of that? No. A small pause. I noticed because you refuse to depend on anyone who might use it later. My throat tightened. You look careful, he said. People who live in fear develop patterns. Yours weren't fear. They were survival. I didn't speak. He continued. When Oscar tried to sell you, I already knew what you would never willingly become. Property. Controlled. Owned. So you protected me because you respected me? I asked quietly. He shook his head once. I protected you because you were about to be destroyed by a world you didn't choose, and I had the ability to prevent it. Another pause, then the real answer. And because after watching for months, I decided losing you would bother me. The choice. Silence stayed between us. No dramatic confession. No sudden closeness. Just truth. I stepped closer. You keep saying I'm free, I said softly. So I want you to hear this as a choice. He didn't move. I'm not staying because I need protection anymore. His gaze held mine. I'm staying because I want to. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Are you sure? He asked quietly. Yes. A breath. You didn't save me, I continued. You gave me a life where I don't have to be afraid all the time. I placed my hand lightly over his. And I want that life to include you, what he finally admitted. Jin-woo studied our hands like he was memorizing evidence. Then he spoke, softer than ever before. I never intended you to stay. I know, but I hoped you would. That was the closest thing to a confession. He knew how to give, and somehow it meant more than any promise. Months later, the city never knew what happened. No headlines, No reports. No police statements. Powerful conflicts rarely make the news. They simply stop existing. The penthouse felt different now. Less like a vault, more like somewhere lived in. I kept some of my own clothes in the closet. A book stayed open on the table. 2 coffee cups appeared most mornings. Normal things. Danger still existed in his world, but fear no longer lived in mine. The last conversation about Oscar. One evening I finally asked, "Do you ever regret not killing him?" Jinwoo looked at the skyline. "No." "Why?" "Because prison lasts longer than revenge." I nodded. That sounded like him. Permanent solutions, carefully chosen. Months ago I ran from every street, every shadow, every memory. Now I stood beside the one man everyone else feared, and felt safe. Not because he was dangerous, because he was certain. Some people protect you by standing in front of you. Jinwoo protected by making sure nothing could stand at all. I slipped my hand into his. He didn't react, but he didn't pull away either. For him, that was everything.